Hey guys, okay, it's Rick. I had a dream last night. It was a really good one. It so I'll just describe the dream and then I'll walk you through it of what I felt it was all about, and it was really cool. Anyway, I give you some perspective of time and space and time travel and all that, because that's what it was about. Anyway, um, so I was watching Netflix and there's a little one season series called Extreme Treasure Hunters or something like that. And they're in India looking for diamonds, digging for diamonds in a diamond lost diamond mine. Well, they found the diamond mine, and then they started digging for diamonds. So I watched that series, like 5, 6 episodes, and then after I went to bed, fell asleep, and the dream were the characters in the show. So I there was a skinny guy, a girl, and two other guys in the movie. There was more than that, but these are the four main characters in the dream. So the one guy, these four guys were digging for diamonds in my dream, and they're digging, and they come across like a steel, and this is like in the middle of India, down in the middle of nowhere in the dream, and they're digging, and they come across like a steel under, a meter earth or something. And then they dig it away, and they find a hatch. And it's a UFO that's buried under the earth. It's been there for a long, long time. Okay? And so they all decide to go in. They didn't totally uncover the UFO, but they found the hatch and to get into it. Or they touched the craft and the hatch opened up. I forgot how. But then... So they go in, all four of them, and as they're in there, they're walking around with the flashlights, looking around, and they're all getting scared because they don't know what's going on. So they're all out. They're in a spaceship under the earth in India, four of them, and they're sneaking around inside the spaceship that's been buried there for millions of years, and they're looking around. They're all scared. Then they all go in this one room, and they're looking at a panel or something, inscriptions, writing or design on the wall, and they're touching it, looking at it, and talking about it, and then they start saying, "We gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here. This is too much for us." And then all of a sudden, I focus on the one guy. I focus. It's like I'm watching them, or I'm a part of them, but I'm watching them, and I focus on the one guy, and he wants to go, and all of a sudden he leaves with everybody else and gets the hell out of the ship. Then they leave the ship, and they call the government. The government comes with the helicopters, scares the shit out of the people that found it, basically threatened them. And the black helicopters come, and the governments and all that, and they cordon it off, and that's the last you ever see of it. And that guy had the experience. Then he went on. I was watching the one guy, and then he's cutting his wrists in a bad place, cutting his wrists. And then I'm back at the UFO, and they stay there this time. They stay in the UFO, and I'm watching the guy, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, we gotta get out of here. We get out of here," but we don't tell the government or anything. And then they leave. He ends up marrying the girl, and they have a family and everything, and everybody's happy. Then I'm back in the ship, and this time they don't call the government. But they stay in the ship, and they keep on exploring further in, and they find a whole bunch of different things. And then I'm back in the ship, and this time it's a whole new reality for the guy. Every decision has a probable reality for the guy, okay? Then I do the girl, and I'm watching the girl, and I do her like 4 times where she dies, and then she doesn't say anything with the guy. She gets married to the guy, and stuff like that. So I see all her probable realities, but I don't see the other 2 guys. So these are just examples of probable realities when they're in the craft, and as soon as they touch the craft. Okay? So I'm at the one probable reality where they all stay in the craft and they keep exploring. So they're walking through the craft. They stay in the craft and they keep on exploring. And this is the one probable reality that kept going, the right one, or the one that worked out. They all go in the craft and they enter this one room, and they walk into the room, and all of a sudden the door closes behind them. It just closes. There wasn't even a door, I think. The wall just went. And so they're sealing there, and they start freaking out. They're panicking, and they're freaking out. And all of a sudden, water starts spilling in, and they're going to drown. And there's no way out. It's like a vault. And they're drowning, and they're drowning, and they're drowning. And they're all screaming and crying. They're going to die. And all of a sudden, it fills right up. And then, just when they go, just before they hold their breath as long as they can, and then they breathe in, and they're breathing, and it's they're breathing the water, and it's like they're fine. They're all like, what the fuck, right? And they're all alive. And it's that oxygen water, you breathe it in, the Navy SEALs use. It's something like that. So they're in there and they're walking around, and they're in and the whole ship is filled with water now. So they're walking around in the water in the ship. And all of a sudden, the ship takes off and it goes into outer space. Okay? And so they're looking out the windows and they're watching the stars, but they're floating in this water, and this water is keeping them alive or something. And then it goes into outer space. So they're all in outer space now, breathing this water in the spaceship. Then they go into outer space, and then they come back down to Earth. They come back down to Earth. And they come back down to Earth, and doors open up inside the craft, which leads them to the outside door, right? And all of a sudden, they're these cavemen type people come up to the craft, and they're clinking it with their sticks, clink, clink, and they're clinking it, and they're watching each one of them. There's 4 cavemen type people, not really cavemen like blah, blah, but you know, they had like skins and stuff they were wearing, and stone axes and stone tools. And all of a sudden, the cavemen people see them, and they see the caveman people. And all of a sudden, they're just like touching the wall, looking at each other, right? Each one of them to each one of them. And they're both looking at each other and staring at each other. And then they're like, wow, wow, right? And they know that that's them in the past, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. And all of a sudden, the wall closes up, and the spaceship takes off back into outer space. And they go way off into space again, and they come back down in the same spot on Earth. And they come down, and the door opens up, and they're at the door again, and the window or whatever, and they're floating in the water. But this time the wall opens up, and there is no water this time. They come out. They come up to the wall, and they can go outside, but they don't go outside. I don't know why. And 4 blue people with big heads and designs like spots on their skin. It was like their skin was blue with darker blue spots on the neck, and their hair or their skin went up on their head. The skin came out and looked like a dread, one big dread on the back of their head, and but it was skin, and they tied it and took care of it or something. Anyway, so all these blue skin people come walking, like thousands of them, and they're in a big city, or in the same spot, but it's a city now. And so they blue people walk up, 4 blue people walk up to them, and they're looking back, and all of a sudden the blue people, as soon as they looked in each other's eyes towards the other person in the ship, they all started crying and hugged each other, and they were like, wow, just hugging and crying and hugging and crying. And it was them in the future, after we evolved into the blue people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get it? That's what the dream was about. So you can read a lot into that dream, but I think the spacecraft, was like a bubble, a material bubble. Like if they could build a car, they can build this spacecraft, right? And somehow, with the super physics of whatever, they can take you out of space time, go and put yourself in the past and put yourself in the future, where you're, and then, but remember the bit at the beginning, and it has to do with space, outer space, because they had to leave the Earth to change, to go into the future and the past, and then come back down and see it, sort of thing. Okay, hold on, someone else is coming. So they had to go into space to go into the future or the past. Then they came back down to Earth, and they met themselves in the future, and they knew it, just the instinct, and love. But it was themselves, and it blew their minds, right? So it's like if someone walked up to you, landed in a spaceship, came out and walked up to you, and it was you in the future. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe that was a dream. But the thing was, when they were in the craft, when they initially went in, and they went into that one room up to that panel with the writing on it, they all saw themselves, probable realities from that point on of that craft. So it's how you perceive the craft in that moment, which is a chain reaction to each one, to all the probable realities. So if you have a good head and a good heart, you're gonna see yourself in the future. You get to go on the exploration. But if you're a fucking idiot and you kill yourself, stuff like that, all these different probable realities that will take you away from the one that you got to see. So all these timelines ended. They got married. They forgot about the craft and forgot about it, didn't worry about it anymore. They didn't tell the government. They buried it back up. All that, those are all different probable realities within them that they lived, and for each person. But the one probable reality of exploration, they wanted to explore the craft. The wall opened up basically and said, okay, here you go, and you're going to see it. So there's a lot you can read into it, but I thought it was fantastic. As soon as I woke up, I felt the whole thing, and I'm like, man, I got to tell everybody. So I'm going to make a video about this. So, yeah. And the craft was just a tool. I think it's possible. I wouldn't have dreamt it. Like Billy Meyer, he goes into the craft, and you go into the past and the future. And you can see yourself in the future. And he did. He met himself. Anyway, so that's what that's what can happen. But it all comes down to what you do in the moment, how you live in the moment. So when you're walking down the street out in the woods somewhere and you look over to your left and there's a UFO sitting there, how are you going to react? That's the question. Are you going to run and gun? Run or gun, Or are you going to be curious, open your heart, feel your way through it? Be nice to the occupants, or are you going to blast them? Are you going to commit suicide and go insane? These are all probable realities of your choice in the moment. It's a lot, man. Anyway, I gotta get going. I'm getting hungry. I'll just show you around. I was out looking for owls. Didn't find any. Later, guys.